Well, good day, and I'm here. Greetings in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm here in the city centre of Dundee. It's 20 years since I preached here, and I did preach here on a number of occasions. This is St. Peter's Square, which I always found quite intimidating. I'm going to switch the... You can see this was the preacher's view. This is a massive square with the Caird Hall behind. Saw a U2 concert in there back in 1982. Not that I'm recommending U2, but it's a huge area, and Dundee is a city known for such preachers, such men as William Chalmers Burns and the Andrew Bonar. So Andrew Bonar and other great preachers, and has a great history of gospel preaching. But hundreds of years later, we're in a generation today when people don't know God, they don't know the truth. Okay, so there were several things that happened to me here when I preached here 20 years ago. I can only tell a few of the stories. One of them was that while I was preaching, there was a house over there. I think it's possibly the pink house that you can see there, or the one next to it. And Prince Charles was visiting that, so I preached as I always did, but I was facing over here, so I have no idea whether Prince Charles heard the preaching or not. Another thing that happened was that a certain man had come here well, he saw me preaching and he came, and he was very, very violent and aggressive towards me, and said that if he saw me there the following week he was going to kill me, basically. And this actually caused me great consternation at the time. And essentially what happened was that I prayed a great deal about this, and the following week when I came here, what I found was where I was standing to preach, they set up an army recruiting office, mobile army recruiting office. So while I preached, I was surrounded by soldiers in uniform. Now, whilst those soldiers probably couldn't care less about the message I was preaching, although I hope they did, they weren't formally assigned to me in any sense. I don't think anybody would have dared lay a finger on me while I was preaching on that occasion. God looks after his preachers. Over there you see a statue of Desperate Dan. Dundee is a city known for jam, jute and journalism, and journalism involves the Beano comic for children. So that's the history of Dundee commercially. And then another occasion, you can see opposite the Overgate shopping centre, another occasion I came out to see an enormous crowd of people outside the Overgate. There had been a fire alarm, and all the shoppers and staff had been put out onto the street here, so I got to preach to a very large crowd here. And even when the alarm was checked and found not to be a real fire and everybody went back in, some people stayed and they continued to listen to the preaching, which was very, very satisfying and very wonderful. So this is a city that I've preached in the past. It's one that I preached in 20 years ago. I'm glad to be here today. Now, I haven't brought good recording equipment with me today, so I think the preaching will be not of a sufficient standard to post on YouTube. Also, I'm going to have to actually move because that busker with his amplifier is kind of at risk of taking my voice away, so we'll see what happens. But I'm going to preach here by God's grace. Thank you for listening.